Hola Mexico, it's Jonny from the drums. This is De Disco en Disco por Sopitas.com.
Hoy traemos un episodio de Disco en Disco un poco diferente, pues aunque ahora no nos pudimos lanzar a ver vinilos, sí tuvimos chance de platicar un rato con Jonny Pierce de The Drums sobre esos discos y artistas que han marcado tanto su vida personal como profesional.
I'm gonna ask you the first one. The album that you listened to most during your first heartbreak.
Oh, I know exactly this album. I mean, my whole life as a child was a heartbreak, so there are a lot in there, but a romantic heartbreak, I have the answer. The album, for me, that was the most perfect album to receive when I was the most heartbroken. My first love was Beck, Sea Change. I was in love with this sweetheart in New York City, and I had just sort of figured out who I was, and so I was just ready to love. And like a little puppy, I just gave this person my heart. And he ended up having to leave, be deported to the UK, and he got a job there. But on his way to the airport, he met me on the street in New York City and gave me Beck Sea Change. And I went back to my apartment. I was living in Hoboken, New Jersey, and I just cried like you would not believe. And I think I was in deep mourning for like 2 months, and I just listened to that record like 24 hours a day. I couldn't eat, I couldn't sleep. It was that type of heartbreak where you lose weight and you're not, but Beck, Sea Change, I can't listen to that album now. Not that I couldn't handle it emotionally, but my body literally feels yucky when I hear that music because it brings me back to that pain. So yeah. Big record, beautiful album. I think it's a real masterpiece.
I know that feeling.
Yeah.
The next one is the first album you bought.
The first album that I ever went out and just purchased was a synthesizer album. Synth pop was the genre. It was by a band called Joy Electric, and the album is called Melody. And that album is so bizarre looking back at it. I kind of knew it was weird. I knew there was no other album like it. There still isn't another album like it, but this is the album that I really credit for introducing sort of longing, melancholy, kind of sweet but sad, like sugary but bitter melodies that kind of go right to your heart. I think this album taught me how to write pop songs, but in a way that wasn't embarrassing.
The next one is the album that motivated you to be a musician.
So it's really the same album, Joy Electric, but I'll add, for the sake of variety, I'll add a second album to that. Björk's Homogenic was... I still remember walking into the record store and it was playing on the speaker system, and I was in a stage of my life where I was willing to really kind of just try stuff. I bought a lot of albums just based off the cover art, knowing nothing about the band. So I heard the snippet of, I think it was the song Yoga off of Homogenic, and I went up to the counter and I said, "Who is this?" He said, "It's Björk." I thought, what is a Björk? And rushed over, saw the album cover, which is her and Alexander McQueen, kind of computer generated, looking like an alien. And I just thought, why not? Let's get a little bit weird. And I remember bringing it home, putting on headphones, hearing sounds and tones and textures and lyrics, quite frankly, and a voice that like I've never heard before. All of those things like new to the world and new to me. I remember it was right around the time Princess Diana died, and I have those two things kind of fused together in my memory. I remember trying to show my brothers this album, and they were kind of deeply Christian and had a hard time with it.
We have a tough one.
Okay.
Your favorite Dead Drums album?
It's really hard to pick a favorite. Each time I wrote an album, I was putting my heart and soul as best as I knew how into making it. So it's hard for me to say a bad word about any of them because my heart kind of breaks for that younger version of me who was just really trying his best. And for a lot of those recordings, felt very lost in the world and, didn't have a lot of money and ended up writing a song about that. But was just kind of like struggling, didn't have a close family. And so when I look back, I'm just really kind of proud of those younger versions of myself for pulling it together enough against all odds to make anything at all. So I'll rephrase the question a little bit, which is which album is the one that touches my heart the most right now? I think it would be my last album, Jonny, because that album was sort of the album where I finally looked kind of at my past and those younger versions of myself, and I actually let those younger versions of me take turns writing songs on this album. So it's kind of encapsulates all those younger versions of me as well as kind of the modern day Jonny. And I think there's something sweet about not dismissing those younger, more foolish versions of myself, but rather looking at them with a lot of love.
And finally, the album that you're currently obsessed with?
You didn't ask this question, but my favorite artist in the world right now is Grouper. Liz Harris is her actual name. Goes by the name Grouper. Grouper is like a musical mother to me, and not in the way that everyone's saying, oh, mother this, mother that, but she feels like a mother to me. I spent most of the pandemic not listening to music, really at all. The only times that I would listen is if I was taking mushrooms, and every single time it was Grouper. And mushrooms and Grouper together with a sensitive boy like me, I'm just a puddle on the floor, And so the album right now that I'm listening to, I have the vinyl, and I'm just listening to it every morning when I'm making my breakfast, is called Trails. And she wrote it on a 4-track recorder, just walking this trail in the forest, I think in Oregon, near the beach. And it's very simple. It's quite lo-fi, but it speaks to her sensitivity and her strength in songwriting, because the songs, while it's just a piano and her voice typically, it hits you like a ton of bricks. So, Grouper, Trails. Check it out. On vinyl. Get it on vinyl.
Bueno, aunque esta edición de Disco en Disco fue un poco más pocket, o sea, de bolsillo, aún así estuvo muy interesante saber cómo ese disco de Beck ayudó a Jonny Pierce en su primer desamor, o la inusual manera en la que descubrió la música de Björk. ¿Cuál fue su dato favorito de este episodio? Nos vemos en el siguiente, bye.